now we're going to get the flybar cage all built and ready to go. So the way mine came, it already had all the parts kind of put in place. You want to make sure that you're using all the parts that you're supposed to. You've got the bearings inside your factory assembled flybar cage setup. It's a seesaw. Actually, you've got the arms, all the washers in place. It actually came factory assembled with all of this stuff. And there are two different holes here in the seesaw. There's a mounting hole, mixing arm for stable flight, and one for 3D. So it looks like mounting hole for SF mixing arm for nimble 3D flight is the inside hole. Mounting hole is SF mixing arm for stable 3D flight. So they say this is recommended use definitely for the first person. You want to go on the outside. I'm going to use the inner one because I want to have some nimble 3D capabilities on this guy. So first order of business, you want to pull out what was factory assembled and get thread lock on there, because it does not have thread lock. It's metal on metal. We don't want anything falling apart while we're in the air. Again, get a little gob on the end there. Move it within the fingers. You know, make sure it's in there nice. You don't want to get it on this part. You want to keep this part pretty clean, because you are, once again, you're going through some bearings. Get this in here. The bearing, all the bearings are pre-installed. That's what's great about Align kits. You know, you've got a lot of stuff already done for you. It's a real easy build, kind of like a compass. A compass helicopter is a really easy build as well, in my opinion. And then, get the other side. Pull this thing out. Thread lock. And your fingers kind of work it into the threads. And make sure you clean off that other part. Wipe off all the excess. Screw this in there. You want to make sure everything's screwed in nice and straight. Take your time to do it right. Screw it. It should be nice and tight, and you should be able to get it tight and have great movement. If you don't have movement like this, then you've done something wrong. Make sure you double check with the manual. You've got everything screwed in the way it should be. Over here we've got the mixing arm, and as it says in the manual here, you've got this inner hole, which is kind of more for nimble 3D flight, and then the outer hole, which is for some smoother flying characteristics. 3D, kind of more sport flying. I want to set it up for 3D. They recommend, if you're starting out, use the outer hole. It already came factory assembled with the washer, the bearings. The bearings were all in these mixing arms. We don't have the linkage balls in there yet, so we want to make sure that we get the linkage balls on here. There's a longer part of the arm, shorter part of the arm. The longer part goes towards the opposite side of where these holes are on the seesaw, and the larger linkage ball also goes on the longer arm. Smaller linkage ball, smaller arm. So we'll put this together right now. Pull this guy off. Okay, so we want to double check. We've got, here's our, sometimes the washer can stick on there, so make sure you've got it. We've got a little washer Okay, so washer, bearing, and on the other side another bearing and a washer. And we want to make sure we've got thread lock on the end of this. So what I'm going to do for this one is kind of put a little dab on the end of my finger, and then go over here and just kind of roll it in there. I don't want to get it on the bearings. Just roll it, make sure it gets on the threads. And then, like I said, make sure you align it so that the longer part is facing the opposite of where the holes are. And I'm using the inner hole. So just screw that in there nice and straight. Try to get it tight. You don't want to bust it. These aren't the thickest screws in the world. They're not like the ones that are going in here. You want to get these ones nice and tight, but these ones good and tight. Let the thread lock do its job. Then we want to get the ball links on here. We've got the longer one. Oop. Wrong hex screw. So the longer one with the kind of conical skirt that comes out here, you're going to put on the longer mixing arm. And like always, we're going metal into metal. So we're going to get some thread lock, some T43, the blue stuff. Get the thread gooped up in there. And on the longer mixing arm, we're going to put the longer ball link. Screw that in there nice. Nice tight. You don't want to bust it, so you get it tight. Again, let the thread lock do its job. And then we've got the smaller ball link that also came in the same bag. That one on there. It doesn't have the skirt. It's got a bit of an indent afterwards, but it's not as long as the other one. Again, I'm putting a goop of thread lock on here right now. And then work it into the threads, get it clean, wipe it off. And on the shorter part of the mixing arm, screw this in here. And make sure we get it in straight. Don't force it in at an angle. You're going to cause nothing but problems for yourself if you do that. Again, get it tight. Not so tight that you bust it. And the key is, you know, you want to have it nice and tight. You want to have these things moving freely, nice and free. Same as the flybar seesaw. These screws are in nice and tight as well with thread lock. It already came factory with all these bearings in this part. So now we've got the seesaw with the mixing arms all set. Everything's still moving nice and smooth. That's exactly how we want it. Okay, next thing we're going to do, since we've got most of the head built, got the grips on there, got the seesaw with the mixing arms, everything's got Loctite, thread lock, T43 in there. Next part we're going to do is build the flybar cage. Going to pull out all the flybar control rods, put the flybar paddles on there. If you're doing flybarless, obviously there's going to be a bit of a different setup. You're not going to have to go through all these steps. It'll be a lot simpler. You just got to make sure your phasing is correct in that sort of instance. So we're going to want the linkage rod. Basically everything out of the 600N H7 bag is what we're looking for. What we have in there is a 600N H7. Open this up. We've got the fly bars, or flybar paddles, the linkage rods are going to be in that package. There's another package that has all the other linkage rods, but these particular ones are going to be in here. It says in the manual, you also want to double check, it's the 19mm actual rod, and the ball links, once you have them screwed in there, you want to have 10.5mm. And you will see, I'll put this stuff to the side here, get the links ready first. Each linkage ball will have a letter A on one side and some sort of number scratching over there, but one side will have the A, and how it goes on the ball, the A is always on the outside because it's a little bit thicker diameter here. You'll also see a bit more of a ring around right here. And the way we're going to put these ones together, A is going to face one side on one and then the opposite side on the other. It'll make a little bit more sense once we put it together. Good way to get your ball links ready to go. You want to make sure you have a pair of ball link pliers. One of these little guys is always very helpful. And a reamer tool just in case your ball links don't fit. Usually on the Align kits, the ball links are already reamed out and they fit perfectly, but just in case, you want to be able to ream it out. Okay, so I usually just get the thread started. If you're doing this all by hand, it's going to be a bit more challenging. But if you've got the tools, it becomes a lot easier to do this. Okay, so you get it started. Easiest way to do this, the little hole right here on your ball link pliers, you just kind of use that to hold your ball links. You don't want to put too much pressure on it or anything. This little tool here, put it on there, and piece of cake, you just screw it right on there. You want to make sure you screw it to the right length, and like I said in the manual, so the distance in the inside here between the two ball link ends is 10.5 millimeters. So I'm going to pull out the calipers here, make sure I'm in millimeters, and work it out to 10.5. You want to get these things pretty perfect. So, okay. Exactly 10.5 millimeters there. So I usually put that to the side. I use it as a reference. So looks like we're getting kind of close. Need to go in just a little bit more. That's the way we do it. You just want to make sure you keep screwing it in and checking it against the calipers until you get it to be as close to 10.5 as you can, with one side having the A and then on the other side also the A. Okay, so I'm going to get this one finished up and I'm going to get the other one finished up, and then we'll show how to start building the flybar cage.